You're listening to the 5-Minute Friday podcast episode of The Aligned Self. This is your host, Daniel J-N-O-V. Okay, 5-Minute Friday, a short and concise podcast episode of The Aligned Self designed to leave you with a question, an idea, a strategy, a tip, a hack, in order to give you greater access to your conscious awareness, evolving your conscious awareness, or give you greater mastery over your mind. Hello, friend. Welcome into this 5-Minute Friday. This is going to be a short episode, and it's going to relate to law of attraction. How are we focusing our mind when unexpected expenses pop up? I also want to speak to the phenomena that typically when we create a new intention around finances or eliminating debt, that sometimes things get worse before they get better. Now, I've done a whole episode on this idea, but I'm just going to address it again in brief. And that is being present to the energy of our offering when we create these intentions. So typically when we want to increase our income, when we want to eliminate debt, we're all too present to our debt. We're all too present to the lack of money. So sometimes we experience things getting worse before they get better. Sometimes we'll call in unexpected expenses. You want to eliminate debt, but suddenly you have to replace the roof. Or you may be so focused on the debt, you move some different assets around, some investments, and you end up having a huge tax bill. You eliminate the debt, but the money goes out a different way. And so the question is, how do we view these events? How do we put them in perspective and actually make them or allow them to work for us rather than against us? When this question pops up, I always think about the two women in California after a wildfire. One woman they interviewed said they were devastated. They lost everything. They had nothing left and they didn't know what they were going to do. And the reporter asked them, "Did all your family get out okay?" And she said, "Yes, but we lost everything." Then a couple minutes later, they were interviewing another woman, and they asked her how things went for them. And she said, "We lost everything, but everyone made it out alive. All the kids, all the cats, everybody. The house we can rebuild. We'll be okay. We lost all the pictures, but we have each other. We'll rebuild. It'll be a challenge, but we'll all be better for it." Now, in our live session in the Be a Badass Manifestor that's going on inside the Nexus, last Saturday, I found myself thinking and talking in scarcity. Because I live in Texas, naturally the conversation went around isn't it hot? In fact, it's so hot here, it's in triple digits. It's been in triple digits for the last couple months. And I started talking about the electric bill. Given the daytime temperatures and just to try and keep it at 80, 78, 80 degrees, the air conditioning runs all day. And I was complaining that I keep thinking about the dollar bills floating out the window. Every time I see a light, every time I see a fan on and no one's in the room, I'm in there turning it off. And I said, don't they realize that this is costing me money? I realized that this is actually coming from my childhood. This is how my dad talked. He grew up in the aftermath of the Depression. And I have to tell you, he had 100 ways to save money, along with 100 ways not to spend it or to get upset about overspending in particular areas. And one of those areas was the power bill or the electric bill. And so when I was recounting that in the live, I realized I was regurgitating a story of scarcity. And I noticed it, I called attention to it, I said, I'm going to have to rewrite this story. And so this is how I said it. Thank God we have air conditioning. We're allowed to live fairly comfortably in the midst of intense heat. Even though it's 80 degrees in the house, it's still 25 degrees cooler than it is outside. You go outside, you get all hot, you walk in, and it's like, wow, it is really cool in here. Thank goodness we have air conditioning. I know there are people in Texas that do not have air. They might have a fan, and that would be okay, but then I know there's people that don't even have a fan. I can hardly imagine how they're getting along in this weather. Thank goodness we have air conditioning. Thank goodness it's available and I can pay for it. I know whatever I spend on it is going to come back to me. Every dollar I circulate comes back to me tenfold. And this heat's not going to last forever. Before you know it, we're going to be in the fall and the temperatures are going to be fairly moderate. In fact, I'm going to save a lot once the temperature goes down and I won't even have to turn on the air or the heat. So right now I can just enjoy this cooler temperature. In fact, I feel so good about, having the air conditioning and spending the money for it, I've been turning it down to a more comfortable level. Instead of 78, 80, it's now hovering around 75 to 77. The other benefit is that my wife is a lot more sensitive to heat than I am. And so when she's comfortable, when she's cool, then things go easier for me. Well, she never takes it out on me, but she's a little crankier when it's hot. And so I just consider that an added bonus. In the context of, having to put on a new roof when you didn't expect, thank goodness you have a roof. And putting it on now before the onset of fall and winter really makes a big difference. And if I turn around and sell the house, it's going to increase the value of it just because I have a new roof on it. And I have to say the color that I picked out for the roof really enhances my pride for the home. Every time I pull into the drive, I have a pride of ownership. This is my house and I'm taking care of it. And then, sometimes we have the conversation, I trust the universe is supporting me in this. Well, when things are showing up that are costing you more money, having that trust can be harder to garner. But if we throw it out there that I wonder, with a sense of anticipation and expectancy, I wonder just how the universe is going to take care of this time. I know they always do. I know I'm supported in somehow, some way. I wonder if I'll get a raise. I wonder if I'll find some money. I'm sure something will happen to make everything go a lot easier. I can remember a couple years ago, a client paid me $5,000 for a small coaching package and then immediately totaled her car. And to replace it, even though she had insurance, cost her an additional $6,000. And she was complaining, thinking that she should not have even entered into a coaching agreement at the time she did. And I said to her, the best time to have coaching when all the crap is hitting the fan, when everything seems like it's breaking down, that is exactly the time to have a coach. You don't necessarily want a coach when everything's going well. But in that conversation, I did reframe it and I turned her attention to what she had left. I said, you walked away from that accident with not a scratch. Your family or none of your kids were in the car, so they were spared that accident as well. And thank goodness the insurance took care of the bulk of the expense. I wonder how many other ways the universe has supported you in this. Well, I was able to get rid of the car. I really didn't like it that much, and I was actually able to get the car I really wanted. I've been wanting it for a while, but I couldn't justify selling the car and coming up with the additional cash for the car I wanted. And then I said, isn't it interesting that the universe is actually conspiring on your behalf to bring you the car that you really desired? She said, And then I added, I wonder how many other ways the universe will support you moving forward. And then she replied, I wonder too. What was interesting, 4 days later, her boss called her into his office and he offered her a promotion and a project that if she completed it on time represented a substantial bonus. She told him, can I have the night to think about it? And he said yes. Well, when she got home, she gave me a call and said, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can handle it. I think it's beyond my pay grade or beyond my capacity. And I replied to her, isn't it a good thing you have a coach? I can actually assist you and coach you through it. I'm sure we can handle just about anything that comes up. If you don't necessarily have the skill set, we can definitely figure it out. She said, yes, I can figure it out. I'm going to take it. And then she kind of mused and thought for a moment and wondered, would I have gotten the promotion if I had been focused on losing the car and thinking about all the money that was going out? I don't think it would have come. I think in reframing the idea that everything was working out for me really made a difference. And I replied to her that it's been my experience that that is the case every time. In the end, everything works out for you. If things aren't currently working out, well, it's not the end. Until next time, this is your friend and host, Daniel Danovi, urging you to follow your bliss. Live your life from inner signals. Be inner directed as you engage in the epic adventure.